The strange signal appeared on Dr. Eliza Morgan's screen at exactly 3:42 a.m. She had been working late at NASA's Deep Space Research Center in Houston, analyzing data as she had done countless nights before. But this was different. The pattern didn't match anything in their database. "Computer, run analysis again," she said, rubbing her tired eyes. The results came back the same. Whatever was sending the signal was moving toward Earth from the edge of our solar system. Eliza reached for her phone and called her boss. "Director, you need to see this now." Within hours, the center buzzed with activity. Scientists and military personnel crowded around monitors as the strange object continued its approach. By afternoon, telescopes across the globe focused on a single point in space where something massive was decelerating. "It's artificial," said Frank Martinez, the Navy commander who had arrived with a team of military experts. His weathered face remained calm, but his eyes revealed concern. "And it's heading directly for Earth orbit." Governments worldwide entered crisis mode. In the week that followed, the object revealed itself to be an enormous spacecraft unlike anything humans had imagined. Miles long and shaped like a massive arrowhead, it settled into high Earth orbit exactly 14 days after Eliza first detected its signal. And then it waited. News channels showed nothing else. Religious groups proclaimed the end times. Stock markets crashed. Some people rioted while others prayed. On the 8th day of silence, they finally made contact. "People of Earth," the message began, broadcasting simultaneously on all communication channels in perfect English. "We are the Viridian Collective peaceful explorers from a star system you call HD 8552. We come seeking cultural exchange and mutual benefit. The aliens requested a single representative to meet aboard their vessel. After days of global debate, the United Nations selected Commander Frank Martinez to be humanity's first ambassador to an alien species." "You understand the stakes," said President Harris as Frank prepared to board the shuttle. "The entire human race is counting on your judgment." Frank nodded. "If anything feels wrong, I'll find a way to let you know." The journey to the Viridian ship took less than an hour. Frank's heart pounded as the shuttle docked with the massive vessel. When the airlock opened, he faced his first aliens. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender bodies covered in pale blue skin. Their faces featured 4 dark eyes arranged in a diamond pattern above a small mouth. When they moved, Frank was reminded of dancers, graceful and precise. "Welcome, Commander Martinez," said the tallest Viridian. "I am Zorn, High Commander of this expedition. We are honored by your presence." The interior of the ship amazed Frank. Corridors curved organically, glowing with soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air smelled slightly sweet, like cinnamon and something unfamiliar. Zorn led Frank to a large chamber where several Viridians waited. "These are our scientists and cultural experts. They have studied your transmissions for many years and are eager to meet you." Over the next several hours, Frank answered countless questions about Earth. The Viridians appeared fascinated by human culture, technology, and biology. They offered little information about themselves, despite Frank's attempts to learn more. "Species has explored the stars for over 2,000 years, Zorn explained when pressed. "We have encountered many civilizations. Some became our allies, others we simply observed." Something in the way Zorn said this troubled Frank. He noticed how the Viridians studied his reactions carefully, like scientists watching an experiment. The Y tour continued to what Zorn called their Biological Sciences Division. The laboratory contained strange equipment and large tanks filled with cloudy liquid. "What happens in here?" Frank asked. "We study life forms from many worlds," a Viridian scientist answered. "Understanding biology helps us communicate better with new species." Frank noticed a container with what looked like human hair samples. When he asked about it, Zorn quickly directed him to another area. After 12 hours aboard the ship, Frank returned to Earth with an official invitation. The Viridians wished to establish exchange centers in major cities to facilitate learning between their cultures. World leaders cautiously agreed. Within weeks, Viridian outposts appeared in 20 major cities worldwide. Thousands of humans visited daily, eager to see the aliens and their technology. The Viridians offered medical knowledge that cured several diseases and provided cleaner energy technology. Earth celebrated its first alien alliance, but not everyone felt comfortable with the rapid changes. Lisa Patel, an investigative journalist in New York, began noticing strange patterns. People who visited certain sections of the Viridian centers sometimes reported missing time. A few disappeared entirely. When she published her concerns, most media outlets dismissed her as paranoid. Public enthusiasm for the Viridians remained high. Their technology was improving human life dramatically. Meanwhile, Frank Martinez continued serving as the primary liaison between Earth governments and the Viridians. During his 7th visit to their mothership, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. While passing an unmarked room, the door opened briefly. Inside, he glimpsed rows of tanks containing unconscious humans floating in clear liquid. When confronted, Zorn dismissed his concerns. "Medical volunteers helping us understand human physiology better. All consensual, I assure you." That night, unable to sleep, Frank contacted Eliza Morgan, who had been analyzing Viridian technology. "Something isn't right," he told her over a secure line. "They're hiding things from us." "I've found inconsistencies in their translation systems," Eliza replied. "Sometimes words get mistranslated in very specific ways. Subjects becomes friends. Specimens becomes guests." Frank decided to investigate further. He recruited Lisa Patel, whose articles had caught his attention. Together with Eliza, they began gathering evidence. 2 months after first contact, Lisa managed to place a hidden camera near a restricted area in the New York Viridian Center. The footage showed humans being led into rooms and not coming out. Staff records listed them as having left the building. Frank used his security clearance to access the mothership again, this time with a miniature camera hidden in his uniform. What he recorded confirmed their worst fears. In a secured section of the ship, Zorn spoke with his lieutenants while unaware of Frank's presence nearby. "The humans are responding well to initial conditioning," Zorn said. "Their neural pathways are surprisingly adaptable. Within 6 months, we can begin full harvesting operations." "Will they resist?" asked another Viridian. Zorn made a gesture that might have been laughter. "They suspect nothing. By the time they understand, control implants will be in place. They will make perfect specimens for the labor force. Their physical strength and adaptability are precisely what our mining operations require. And those who cannot work? Unnecessary biomass." Zorn replied coldly. "The collective has protocols for handling waste." Frank slipped away and returned to Earth with the recording. That night he gathered Eliza, Lisa, and trusted government officials to view the evidence. "They're not here for cultural exchange," Frank said grimly. "They're preparing to enslave humanity." As the recording played, the room fell silent. When it ended, President Harris spoke quietly. "We need time to prepare a response. Until then, no one outside this room can know. If the Viridians realize we've discovered their true intentions, they might accelerate their plans." Frank nodded. "They've underestimated us. They think we're simple and trusting. That mistake will cost them dearly." Across the room, Eliza looked up from her tablet. "I've been analyzing their technology. I think I've found a weakness we might exploit." As the group began planning humanity's defense high above Earth, the Viridian mothership glowed against the darkness of space. Its true purpose now revealed to a select few who would soon lead the fight for human survival. 3 months after first contact, Viridian centers operated in 50 major cities worldwide. The public still viewed the aliens as benevolent visitors sharing advanced technology. Behind this friendly mask, their true plan advanced quietly. Lisa Patel worked late in her small apartment, surrounded by walls covered in photos, maps, and notes. Red strings connected reported disappearances to Viridian center locations. The pattern was clear. People vanished most often near these alien facilities. Her phone rang. It was Frank Martinez. "We need to meet," he said, his voice low. "Bring everything you have. The usual place. 1 hour." Lisa arrived at the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Inside, Frank waited with Dr. Eliza Morgan and a man Lisa didn't recognize. "This is Chris Powell," Frank said. "Former CIA. He believes us." Chris nodded grimly. "I've seen enough to know something's wrong. 3 of my former colleagues visited the Denver Center. 2 never came home. The 3rd came back. Different." Eliza spread satellite photos across a table. "These were taken last week. The Viridians claim their mothership is their only large vessel. But look here." She pointed to shadows behind the moon. 5 more ships hiding on the far side. "They're preparing for something big," Frank said. "We need to infiltrate one of their centers and find concrete evidence. The president wants proof before making any moves against them." Lisa pulled out her laptop. "I've been tracking worker schedules at the Chicago Center. There's a staff entrance with minimal security during shift changes. They planned through the night." 1 week later, Frank, Lisa, and Chris approached the Chicago Viridian Center disguised as maintenance workers. Eliza monitored security feeds from a van parked nearby. "Guards change in 30 seconds. Eliza's voice came through their earpieces. "Remember, if you're caught, we don't exist." They slipped through the service entrance as the guards moved away. Inside, white corridors glowed with soft blue light. They followed Lisa's memorized path toward the restricted section in the building's lower levels. "Door ahead requires keycard access," Chris whispered, examining the secure entrance. Frank pulled out a device Eliza had built using reversed-engineered Viridian technology. The door slid open silently. The restricted area looked nothing like the public spaces above. Cold metal surfaces replaced the warm design upstairs. The air smelled antiseptic and strange. "This way." Lisa pointed toward a large chamber at the hall's end. Through a window in the door, they saw rows of humans lying on tables. Strange devices hovered above their heads, pulsing with light. Viridian scientists moved between the tables, making notes on transparent screens. "They're testing control methods," Frank said quietly. "Those devices must be prototypes of the neural implants Zorn mentioned." Chris used a small camera to document everything. In an adjacent room, they found computer terminals. "Cover me," Lisa said as she plugged a device into the alien system. Eliza designed this to extract their data. Minutes passed in tense silence as the download continued. "Someone's coming," Chris warned suddenly. They ducked into a supply closet as 2 Viridians walked by, discussing something in their native language. When the aliens passed, they retrieved the device and headed back toward the exit. They were nearly there when alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. "They've detected the data breach." Eliza's voice came through their earpieces. "Get out now. Guards are converging on your location." They ran for the service entrance but found it blocked by Viridian security. Frank led them to a trash disposal chute. "It's our only option," he said, opening the hatch. One by one, they slid down the chute, landing in a dumpster outside the facility. They raced to the waiting van as Viridian guards emerged from the building. Back at their secret base, Eliza analyzed the stolen data while the others cleaned up. "This is worse than we thought," she said finally, her face pale. "They're not just planning to enslave us. They're going to transport humans off-world to work in mining operations across their empire." Lisa scrolled through translated documents. "According to this, they've done this to dozens of other species. They find developing worlds, pretend to be friendly, then strike when the population trusts them." "There's more," Frank said, pointing to another file. "The invasion date. They're planning to start capturing humans in large numbers next week." Chris studied a map showing Viridian ship positions. "They have harvesters positioned above every major city. Once they activate them, they could capture millions in days." That night, they presented their evidence to President Harris and her Security Council. The room fell silent as they viewed videos of the human test subjects and the Viridian invasion. "Plans, how do we fight them?" the president asked finally. "Their technology is far beyond ours." "We don't have to defeat all of them at once," Frank explained. "We just need to expose their true intentions to the world and disrupt their initial harvesting attempt." The president nodded. "You have whatever resources you need, but move fast." Over the next 5 days, Frank's team worked with military and intelligence agencies to prepare a response. They couldn't match Viridian technology, but they had the element of surprise. The aliens still believed humans were unaware of their true plans. On the day before the scheduled invasion, Viridian Ambassador Krell requested an urgent meeting with world leaders. "Your detection systems may have noticed increased activity in our fleet," Krell said smoothly to the assembled United Nations representatives. "Please do not be alarmed. We are simply repositioning our ships for a cultural celebration." Frank, watching from the back of the room, knew the truth. The Viridians were moving their harvester ships into final position. The next morning, people worldwide woke to see massive ships descending from the clouds, far more than the single mothership the Viridians had acknowledged. Each vessel positioned itself above a major city. "People of Earth," Zorn's voice broadcast globally. "The time for pretense has ended. Your world now belongs to the Viridian Collective. Resistance is pointless. Your military weapons cannot harm our ships." In cities across the planet, strange beams of light shot down from the alien vessels. People caught in these beams rose into the air, pulled toward the ships above. The invasion had begun. In Washington, D.C., the president addressed the nation. "We are under attack by those who came as friends but revealed themselves as conquerors. But humanity will not be enslaved. We have prepared for this moment." As she spoke, military forces worldwide launched a coordinated counterattack, using weapons secretly developed based on Eliza's research. Across the globe, resistance cells activated. Near Viridian centers, Frank led a team into the New York Viridian facility as chaos erupted outside. Their mission: access the central communication node and broadcast the truth to all alien ships. "They think this will be easy," Frank told his team as they moved through the building. "They've never faced humanity when our backs are against the wall. They're about to learn a painful lesson." Outside, the sky filled with Viridian ships. The real war for Earth had begun. 6 weeks after the invasion began, nearly 1/3 of Earth's population had been captured. The Viridian harvester ships hovered over major cities, beaming up thousands of humans daily. Those taken were fitted with neural implants and transported to processing centers. But something unexpected was happening. The Viridians were facing resistance unlike anything they had encountered in their long history of conquering worlds. In Chicago, former police officer Carol Wilson led a group of survivors who had turned the city's underground tunnel system into a base of operations. They emerged at night to rescue people from Viridian collection centers. "They expected us to give up," Carol told her team as they prepared for another rescue mission. "They don't understand what humans are capable of when fighting for freedom." Meanwhile, Dr. Eliza Morgan worked tirelessly in a hidden laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility had been built during the Cold War and remained off all official records. Here she studied captured Viridian technology and made a critical discovery. "The neural implants don't work properly on everyone," she explained to Frank, and the military leaders gathered around her workstation. "About 12% of humans have a genetic marker that makes them resistant to Viridian control. Can we use this somehow?" Frank asked, his face showing the strain of weeks of constant fighting. Eliza nodded. "I've developed a compound that temporarily simulates these genetic markers. It won't last forever, but it could give us an edge." This breakthrough came just in time. The Resistance had established a global network using old radio technology. Modern communications were monitored by the Viridians, but they had overlooked these outdated systems. Frank's voice transmitted to resistance cells worldwide. "We have a way to fight back against their control. Each major cell will receive instructions for producing the compound. Priority 1 is freeing those already captured." The Viridians began to realize something was wrong when processing centers reported increasing numbers of subjects breaking free from neural control. At first, the incidents were isolated, a handful of humans removing their implants and escaping. Soon, entire transport ships were experiencing rebellions. High Commander Zorn was furious. "How is this possible? No species has ever resisted the neural technology." His science officer replied nervously, "Human brains seem uniquely adaptable. They're developing resistance faster than we anticipated." "Make an example," Zorn ordered coldly. "Destroy one of their cities completely." The next day, Denver was reduced to ash by Viridian weapons. The aliens broadcast the destruction worldwide as a warning. Instead of crushing human spirit, the attack only strengthened their resolve. Resistance cells grew as more people chose to fight rather than submit. In Maikei, captured processing centers, humans began sharing a discovery. Strong emotions could temporarily disrupt the neural implants. Intense anger, fear, or even love created brainwave patterns that interfered with Viridian control systems. Carol Wilson's team in Chicago used this knowledge during their biggest operation yet. They infiltrated the city's main processing center, where 5,000 newly captured humans awaited transport off-world. Remember, Carol instructed her team, once inside, help them feel something, anything strong enough to break the initial programming. The raid was chaotic, but successful. As the resistance fighters moved through the facility, they triggered emotional responses in the captives, showing photos of family members, playing music with strong memories, even causing pain when necessary. One by one, the blank-faced captives awoke from their controlled state. Mass breakouts like this were happening globally. The Viridians, who had expected an easy conquest, found themselves fighting a war they hadn't planned for. Frank Martinez coordinated with military forces still, operating from mobile bases. The Viridians have numbers and technology, he told his officers, but they've never faced a species that refuses to quit. Dr. Morgan's compound was distributed worldwide through the Resistance Network. Those who received it gained temporary immunity to Viridian control. These protected humans led increasingly bold attacks against alien facilities. 8 months into the occupation, the tide began to turn. Humans had captured several Viridian weapons and learned to use them against their creators. More importantly, they discovered that Viridian ships were vulnerable to certain radio frequencies that disrupted their navigation systems. The Resistance scored its first major victory when they recaptured Seattle. The Viridian forces retreated after sustained attacks from guerrilla fighters using stolen alien weapons and Dr. Morgan's compound. High Commander Zorn could not understand the failure. We've conquered 37 species across the galaxy. None have resisted like this. His lieutenant reviewed the latest reports. Humans have a social cohesion we've never encountered. Their small groups operate independently, but coordinate their actions across vast distances. They adapt to our tactics faster than we can implement them. In orbit above Earth, something even more troubling was occurring. The massive transport. Ships carrying humans to off-world mining colonies were reporting problems. The neural controls were failing at an increasing rate. On 3 separate vessels, humans had actually taken control of sections of the ships. Zorn received the most alarming report yet. A transport ship carrying 50,000 humans had gone completely silent. When a Viridian scout ship investigated, they found the humans had somehow freed themselves, overpowered the crew, and were learning to operate the ship's systems. "This is unprecedented," Zorn said, his voice showing fear for the first time. "No species has ever captured one of our vessels." Frank Martinez received news of this development with satisfaction. "We're not just fighting back on Earth now. We're taking the battle to space." Dr. Morgan made another breakthrough. Working. With a captured Viridian scientist who had chosen to help humans, she discovered the aliens had a hierarchical neural network. The Viridian commanders controlled their own soldiers through a similar technology they used on conquered species. "Their entire empire is built on control," she explained to Frank. "If we can disrupt their command network, their forces will be thrown into chaos." The Resistance developed a plan for their boldest move yet. Using Dr. Morgan's findings, they created a virus that could infect the Viridian neural network. If they could upload it to the mothership, it would spread throughout the Viridian fleet. Commander Susan Beck, a former Air Force pilot, volunteered to lead the mission. "We'll need a captured Viridian shuttle and a team who can pass as controlled humans." As they prepared for the mission, reports came in from around the world. More cities were being liberated as Viridian control weakened. The aliens who had arrived expecting easy victory now found themselves fighting a desperate battle against a species that refused to be enslaved. Susan looked at her team before they boarded the stolen shuttle. "They thought we would be easy to control. They're about to learn how wrong they were. The shuttle lifted off, heading toward the massive Viridian mothership hovering above the Atlantic Ocean. The mission to strike at the heart of the alien invasion had begun. The stolen Viridian shuttle approached the massive mothership. Inside, Commander Susan Beck and her 5-person team wore the gray uniforms taken from captured alien guards. Their faces showed no emotion, mimicking the blank stares of humans, under neural control. "Remember, move slowly and keep your eyes unfocused," Susan whispered as the shuttle docked with the mothership. "If any Viridian speaks to you, just nod and continue walking." The mothership was enormous. Its central chamber alone could hold several sports stadiums. The team moved carefully through the curved corridors, following the path memorized from maps provided by a Viridian scientist who had joined the human resistance. "The central command node is 3 levels up," whispered Paul Rivera, a former computer expert who had helped develop the virus they carried. "Security will be heaviest there." As they walked, they passed hundreds of Viridians and controlled humans, working throughout the ship. Occasionally, a Viridian officer would glance at them but then look away, assuming they were just another group of enslaved workers. Back on Earth, Frank Martinez watched the mission's progress through a special communication link hidden in Susan's uniform. If her team succeeded, the virus would spread through the entire Viridian fleet, disrupting their neural control network. "They're approaching the central chamber," Frank told Dr. Morgan, who stood beside him in the underground command center. "If they can upload the virus, we could free millions of controlled humans simultaneously." Dr. Morgan nodded. "And potentially turn the Viridians' own soldiers against them. Their entire empire relies on neural control." On the mothership, Susan's team reached a heavy security door blocking access to the command center. "Now comes the hard part," Susan said quietly. She approached a Viridian guard and spoke in a flat voice. "Maintenance crew for central processor. Commander Zorn ordered urgent repairs." The guard studied them suspiciously. For a moment, Susan thought their cover was blown. Then the guard touched a panel on the wall, and the door slid open. "Proceed," the guard said. "Complete repairs quickly." Inside the command center, dozens of Viridians worked at control stations. At the center stood a glowing column that rose from floor to ceiling, the central neural network processor that connected all Viridian ships and control systems. Paul slipped behind a control panel and attached a small device to its underside. "Beginning upload," he whispered into his hidden communicator. "The virus will take about 5 minutes to fully integrate." Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the chamber. A Viridian officer pointed at them. "Intruders! These humans are not under control." Susan pulled out a concealed weapon. "Cover Paul, he needs to finish the upload." The team formed a defensive circle around Paul as he worked frantically at the control panel. Viridian guards rushed toward them, firing weapons that shot bursts of paralyzing energy. 3 minutes more," Paul called as he typed commands into the alien system. The battle was chaotic. 2 of Susan's team fell to Viridian weapons. Susan herself took a glancing hit that numbed her left arm. Still, they held their position. Just as the remaining humans were about to be overwhelmed, Paul shouted, "Upload complete." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the glowing central column flickered. Throughout the chamber, Viridian officers suddenly clutched their heads in pain. The neural network that connected all Viridians was being corrupted by the human virus. "It's working," Susan said. "Fall back to the shuttle." The surviving team members fought their way back through corridors now filled with confused and disoriented Viridians. Some alien soldiers stood perfectly still, their neural links to commanders suddenly severed. Others wandered aimlessly, unable to receive orders. As Susan's team reached their shuttle, the effects spread throughout the mothership. The virus traveled through the neural network, jumping from ship to ship across the Viridian fleet. On Earth, Frank watched as reports flooded in from around the globe. Viridian ships are losing power. Their soldiers are confused. Humans with implants are waking up. Dr. Morgan studied the data on her screens. The virus is working even better than we hoped. It's not just disrupting their control of humans. It's breaking their entire command structure. The most dramatic effects were seen on the transport ships. Hundreds of thousands of captured humans suddenly found themselves free from control. Across the fleet, confused humans removed their neural implants and realized where they were. Gregory Walsh, a mining engineer who had been captured during the early days of the invasion, led the revolt on transport ship 37. When the neural controls failed, he organized other awakened humans to take control of key systems. They thought we were just mindless workers, he told the gathered humans on the ship's main deck. Now we'll show them what happens when you try to enslave people who built civilizations. Within hours, humans had taken control of 17 transport ships. Having observed their Viridian captors, many quickly learned to operate basic ship systems. Engineers and pilots among the freed captives figured out navigation and communications. Back on the mothership, High Commander Zorn was in a panic. How is this possible? The neural network has never been compromised before. His lieutenant struggled to maintain composure. The humans developed a virus specifically targeted at our control systems. They understand our technology far faster than any species we've encountered. Zorn slammed his fist on a control panel. Send the emergency signal. We need reinforcements from the home fleet. But the message never went out. The communication systems were now controlled by Susan Beck's team, who had barricaded themselves in the mothership's transmission center. Susan sent a very different message instead, a broadcast to all Viridian ships and Earth below. This is Commander Susan Beck of the Human Resistance. The Viridian control system has been neutralized. All humans under Viridian control are now being freed. This is our world and we will not be enslaved. On Earth, the impact was immediate and dramatic. In capture centers across the planet, humans awoke from neural control. Many Viridian soldiers, cut off from their commander's control, surrendered rather than continue fighting. Frank Martinez issued orders to resistance forces worldwide. Focus on securing Viridian technology and weapons. The tide has turned, but this fight isn't over yet. Dr. Morgan made another significant discovery while studying the confused Viridian prisoners. Their entire species operates on a hierarchical control system. The higher-ranking Viridians control the minds of those below them. They're as much victims of this system as we were. Some Viridian scientists and workers, freed from their lifelong mental conditioning, chose to help humans. One explained to Dr. Morgan, "Our society has operated this way for thousands of years. Most of us have never known true freedom of thought." 8 months after the invasion began, humanity had not only resisted enslavement but had turned the Viridians' own technology against them. Captured ships now circled Earth, controlled by humans learning to master alien technology. Frank Martinez looked at the latest reports with satisfaction. They thought we were easy prey. Instead, they found the most dangerous opponent they've ever faced, humans fighting for their freedom. In orbit above Earth, the Viridian mothership's lights flickered as humans took control of more systems. The battle for humanity's future had reached its turning point. 1 year after the Viridian invasion began, Earth looked very different. Humans now controlled most of the alien ships. Cities damaged during the conflict were being rebuilt using Viridian technology. The neural virus had spread throughout the alien fleet, freeing both controlled humans and lower-ranking Viridians from mental domination. Frank Martinez stood on the observation deck of the captured mothership, now renamed Earth Liberty. Below him, the blue planet spun peacefully. Beside him stood Dr. Eliza Morgan and the Viridian scientist who had helped them, now known by the human name Velo. "Hard to believe where we were a year ago," Frank said, looking at the planet below. "We were on the verge of becoming just another enslaved species." Eliza nodded. "Instead, we've turned their entire system upside down." "My people never expected such resistance," Velo said. His blue skin had a grayish tint now that he was separated from the Viridian neural network. "In our long history of conquest, no species has ever captured our ships or broken our control systems." Their conversation was interrupted by a message from Susan Beck, now Admiral of Earth's new space fleet. "We've secured the last Viridian outpost in Africa. High Commander Zorn has been captured. You'll want to be present for his questioning." Hours later, Frank faced Zorn in a secured room aboard the mothership. The once proud Viridian commander seemed smaller somehow, his tall frame hunched and his 4 eyes downcast. "Why Earth?" Frank asked simply. "Of all the worlds you could have chosen, why ours?" Zorn looked up slowly. "Your people showed exceptional physical endurance and adaptability, perfect for the mining operations in the outer systems. You've done this many times before," Frank said. "How many species have you enslaved?" 37 full planetary populations, Zorn answered. His voice held no remorse. "It is the way of the collective. It has always been our way." "Not anymore," Frank said firmly. "At least not with humans." Eliza studied the fallen commander. "There's something you're not telling us. Something about why the neural system is so important to your people." Zorn was silent for a long moment. Then he seemed to make a decision. "The Viridian collective is not what you believe it to be. We ourselves are not the masters. We too serve." "What do you mean?" Frank asked, leaning forward. "The true masters are the Archons," Zorn said quietly. "They conquered the Viridian homeworld 10,000 years ago. They placed the first neural control systems in our ancestors. For millennia, we have served as their collection agents, gathering slave species for their empire." This revelation stunned the humans. Velo, who had joined the interrogation, looked equally shocked. "I never knew," he whispered. "The highest commanders must be the only ones permitted this knowledge." "Where are these Archons?" Frank demanded. Zorn pointed upward. "Their home system lies 12 light years from here. They monitor all Viridian fleet activities. By now they know of our failure here. They will send their own ships in response." "How long do we have?" Susan asked. "Perhaps 1 Earth year. Their ships are faster than ours." Frank looked at his team. "Then we have 1 year to prepare." In the months that followed, humans rapidly adapted Viridian technology for their own use. Dr. Morgan worked with willing Viridian scientists to understand their advanced systems. Mining engineer Gregory Walsh led efforts to enhance the weapons on captured ships. The formerly enslaved species was now preparing to defend itself against an even greater threat. Dr. Morgan made another important discovery while studying Viridian databases. There are coordinates here for all the worlds where they've taken human captives, and for planets with other enslaved species. Frank studied the star maps she showed him. "How many worlds are enslaved by these Archons?" "At least 56 that we can identify," she replied. "Some have been under control for thousands of years. This information led to humanity's most daring decision yet. Rather than merely wait for the Archons to arrive, Earth would take the fight to them. More importantly, they would seek to free other enslaved species." 6 months after Zorn's capture, the first human interstellar mission launched. 10 converted Viridian ships carried volunteer crews. Their mission: contact other enslaved worlds and offer the neural virus technology. Susan Beck commanded the lead ship. "We were nearly enslaved," she told her crew before departure. "We can't stand by knowing others remain in chains." As Earth prepared its defenses, the Liberation Fleet made its first contact with another enslaved species. The Novan people had been under Viridian control for over 3 centuries. When human ships arrived in their system, they initially thought it was another Viridian collection mission. "We bring freedom, not conquest," Susan announced to the Novan leaders after deploying the neural virus to free them from control. "Earth stands with you against the Archons." News of human resistance spread from world to world as the Liberation Fleet continued its mission. Other species, inspired by Earth's example, rose up against their controllers. The neural virus spread through the Archon Empire like wildfire. Meanwhile, Earth transformed itself. Viridian technology accelerated human development by centuries. Clean energy systems replaced fossil fuels. New medical techniques cured diseases that had plagued humanity for generations. In orbit, a defense fleet grew, prepared for the coming Archon response. Former enemies now worked together, humans and free Viridians building a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Frank Martinez, now leading Earth's unified defense forces, addressed the Global Council. 1 year ago, we were fighting for survival against a threat we barely understood. Today, we stand as the galaxy's best hope against an empire built on enslavement. Gregory Walsh, recently returned from the Liberation Fleet, reported their successes. 7 worlds are now free. Their people are joining our cause. The Archons have never faced a rebellion of this scale. Dr. Morgan had continued her research into Archon technology. Based on what we've learned from Zorn and the Viridian databases, I believe the Archons rely entirely on neural control. Without it, they may not even be able to function as a civilization. 11 months after Zorn's revelation, Earth's long-range sensors detected movement. A fleet of ships unlike any they had seen before had entered the solar system. The Archons had arrived. Frank stood on the bridge of Earth Liberty, looking at the approaching enemy fleet. Beside him stood representatives of 3 formerly enslaved species, including Velo. They expect to find a single rebellious world easy to subdue, Frank said. Instead, they'll find an alliance of free peoples ready to end their empire forever. Velo looked at the human who had led his people from slavery to freedom. The Archons believed control was power. They never understood that true strength comes from cooperation freely given. As the Archon ships approached Earth, they sent a simple message: submit. Earth's response was equally brief. Transmitted from Frank Martinez's command ship, it said, "Humanity does not surrender." The ships of the Free Alliance moved into formation. The final battle for freedom in the galaxy was about to begin.